The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concord buzzed with anticipation as representatives from 17 advanced species gathered to welcome humanity to their ranks. Ambassador Jun Park stood tall despite being physically dwarfed by many of the alien delegates. His dark uniform, adorned with the simple blue and white Earth insignia, looked plain next to the elaborate ceremonial garments of the other species. "We present the HSS Thunderchild, pride of the Terran fleet," Jun announced as the holographic display activated, showing the massive human warship in orbit. The ship appeared bulky and angular compared to the sleek alien vessels surrounding it. Its hull was marked with burn patterns from atmospheric entries and micrometeor impacts, scars of real service rather than the pristine finish of parade vessels. The alien delegates leaned forward, some using supplementary visual organs that extended from their bodies. A ripple of what humans would recognize as hushed laughter moved through several delegations. Captain Hannah Kim watched from the command deck as various alien vessels circled her ship, scanners probing the Thunderchild's systems. The sleek, crystalline ships of the Vril moved with incredible grace, while the segmented warcraft of the Pellerin turned on impossible angles. One Vril scout ship completed a full circuit of the Thunderchild in the time it took the human vessel's tracking systems to rotate 20 degrees. "Their ships look like art pieces," muttered Lieutenant Min beside her. "Makes ours look like a brick." "Bricks are sturdy," Hannah replied, her eyes never leaving the main display. Below in the engine room, Chief Engineer Han worked with his team to maintain optimal power levels as the alien scanning beams penetrated their hull. Occasionally, he would glance at the secured bulkhead at the rear of the chamber, the one that didn't appear on any schematic shared with the Concorde. Back in the assembly hall, the Vril ambassador glided forward on his gravity platform. His elongated body, covered in reflective scales that shifted color with his movements, towered over the human delegation. Primitive chemical thrusters, fusion propulsion. The Vril ambassador's translator conveyed his tone of amusement. Such quaint technology. Ambassador Jun maintained his diplomatic smile, though his jaw tightened slightly. "How unfortunate your species never discovered gravitic drives," added the Pellerin delegate, her feathered crest rising in what humans were learning was their expression of superiority. "Your vessel would require weeks to traverse distances our patrol ships cover in hours." The Pellerin tapped her taloned fingers against the display controls, bringing up a comparison chart that showed the Thunderchild's top speed against even the smallest Concorde patrol craft. The difference was embarrassing. "Perhaps," suggested the Trill representative, "a bulbous creature supported by a mechanical exoskeleton, the humans could upgrade their vessels with our surplus drive systems. Even our outdated technology would represent a substantial improvement." This triggered another wave of poorly disguised amusement among the delegates. Ambassador Jun felt his cheeks warming, but kept his expression neutral. Aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Hannah Kim watched the proceedings via secure feed. She exchanged glances with her first officer, Commander Topark. They maintained their composure as laughter rippled through the alien delegation. Tay's hand briefly touched the ceremonial sword at his hip, not a threat, but a reminder of human pride. "They judge what they see, not what is," he said quietly. Hannah nodded. "As they should, for now." On the bridge, the crew continued their duties with practiced efficiency. Unlike the automated systems prevalent on alien vessels, the Thunderchild maintained a full human crew. What seemed inefficient to the aliens had purpose, redundancy, creativity, and the human element that had saved Earth ships countless times during their earlier space conflicts. Behind sealed doors in the heart of the ship, technicians monitored systems that emitted no external signatures. Technology developed not for speed, but for a different purpose entirely. "The Thunderchild serves its purpose," Hannah replied diplomatically over the communication link to the assembly. "We hope to learn much from our new allies." The Galactic Security Council chairman, a towering insectoid Razek, stepped forward to ease the tension. "Humanity brings many strengths to the Concorde beyond military capability. Their adaptability and resourcefulness are well documented. Yes, agreed the Vril ambassador with what translated as a condescending tone. They've managed impressive achievements with their limited technology. One must admire such determination in the face of obvious disadvantages. Later that evening, after the formal reception, Captain Hannah met with her senior staff in the Thunderchild's secure conference room. The chamber was swept for surveillance devices, and a dampening field prevented any transmission. "They think we're primitive," Security Chief Jun said, frustration evident in his voice. "Did you see how the Pellerin military attaché barely bothered to examine our weapon specifications?" "Good," Hannah replied simply. "Let them underestimate us." Engineer Han projected schematics onto the table. "Our true propulsion and weapons systems remain undetected. Their scans registered exactly what we wanted them to see." Commander Tai leaned forward. "How long should we maintain this deception, Captain? The mockery is difficult for the crew to bear." Hannah looked at each officer in turn. "As long as necessary. History is filled with examples of advanced civilizations underestimating primitive opponents. The Romans in Germania, European colonizers in Asia. Let them believe we're harmless. It's safer that way." "For them or for us?" asked Medical Officer Sun with a slight smile. "Both for now," Hannah answered. "Remember the mission directive from Earth Command. Integrate, observe, and protect human interests. If the Concorde truly embodies the peaceful cooperation they claim, wonderful. If not," she let the thought hang unfinished. As the meeting concluded, Hannah remained alone in the conference room. She called up the external view showing the Concorde's massive space station with dozens of alien vessels coming and going with remarkable speed and grace. "Laugh while you can," she whispered, not out of malice but pragmatism. Humanity had fought too hard for its place among the stars to risk everything on blind trust. The Thunderchild and ships like her were designed with lessons learned from Earth's bloody history. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon was the one your enemy never saw coming. 3 months after humanity's integration into the Concorde, emergency signals flashed across subspace networks. The Shral Dominion, a predatory empire from the Galactic Rim, had launched simultaneous attacks on 4 Concorde outposts. Within hours, 2 outposts had gone silent. The other 2 managed to transmit distress calls before their communications were cut. The Emergency War Council convened in the massive orbital chamber above the Concorde capital world. Representatives from all 17 member species gathered around the holographic battle table. The mood was tense as incoming reports showed Shral forces advancing deeper into Concorde territory. Admiral Gilson, Earth's military representative to the Concorde, stood quietly among his alien counterparts. Unlike many human military officers, Jill preferred listening to speaking. His weathered face remained impassive as the alien commanders argued over strategy and resources. The Shral vessels utilized dimensional shifting to achieve tactical surprise, the Vril battle director explained, his scaled skin flashing patterns of concern. They can partially phase into subspace, becoming nearly invisible to sensors until they emerge to attack. Only our fastest ships can effectively engage them. The holographic display updated, showing Shral attack patterns from previous conflicts. Their vessels would appear suddenly, strike with devastating precision, then vanish before counterattacks could land. "Speed is essential," agreed the Razak Hive commander, her chitinous limbs clicking together anxiously. "We must strike before they can establish dimensional anchorages in our territory." Admiral Gill studied the tactical display carefully. Something about the Shral attack pattern seemed familiar, reminiscent of guerrilla tactics from Earth's military history. He made notes on his personal device but remained silent. "The human vessels are too cumbersome," the Pellerin fleet commander stated flatly, his feathered crest rising with apparent frustration. "They would only hinder our response. Their fusion drives cannot match our acceleration, and their reaction time would delay the entire fleet." Several other commanders nodded in agreement. The memory of the Thunderchild's specifications, publicly shared during humanity's integration ceremony, remained fresh in their minds. Perhaps the humans could provide support services, suggested the Trill representative more diplomatically. Medical aid or supply coordination from safe distances. Admiral Gill felt his face flush with barely controlled anger, but years of military discipline kept his expression neutral. He glanced toward the entrance as Captain Hannah Kim arrived, summoned from the Thunderchild, which was currently docked at the Concorde Central Station. Hannah listened to the ongoing discussion for several minutes before stepping forward into the light of the holographic display. The Thunderchild requests permission to join the defensive fleet. Her voice, though not loud, carried a quiet authority that momentarily silenced the chamber. The alien commanders exchanged glances, some with obvious discomfort, others with what passed for amusement in their species. Silence fell across the chamber before uncomfortable murmurs arose. The Vreel battle director's scales shifted to a pattern that translated roughly as skeptical concern. "Captain, we appreciate your enthusiasm," he said carefully. "But this operation requires coordination at speeds your vessel simply cannot achieve. Our analysis of your ship's capabilities suggests you would fall behind within the first hour of pursuit," added the Pellerin commander, not unkindly, but with absolute certainty. Hannah stood her ground. "The Thunderchild is combat-ready, and our crew is prepared. We may surprise you." The Concorde Supreme Commander, an ancient Drell whose species was known for their pragmatic approach to warfare, studied the human captain carefully. Unlike his colleagues, he seemed to be genuinely considering her request. "Very well," the Concorde Supreme Commander finally agreed after a long pause. "Your vessel may join the reserve formation. Perhaps you can evacuate survivors." The dismissal was clear, though politely phrased. The Thunderchild would be allowed to follow the fleet but was not expected to engage in actual combat. Captain Hannah bowed slightly in acknowledgement, revealing nothing of her thoughts before departing. That evening, Admiral Gill visited the Thunderchild. He found Hannah in her ready room, reviewing tactical simulations. "They think we're bringing a knife to a gunfight," Jill said without preamble. Hannah gestured to the seat across from her. "Let them think what they want." "The Shrall are dangerous, Hannah. Their technological edge is significant." "So is ours," she replied simply. "Just not in ways they understand." Gill lowered his voice despite the secure room. "Earth Command authorized activation of the special systems." Hannah nodded once. "Full deployment if necessary. The Daedalus Protocol has been unlocked." The Admiral's eyebrows rose. The Daedalus Protocol was classified beyond top secret, the authorization to reveal humanity's true technological capabilities if the situation demanded it. That night, in the secure hold of the Thunderchild, Engineer Dayun supervised his crew's work tirelessly on systems that appeared on no official manifest. The massive bay, comprising nearly one-third of the ship's internal volume, housed row upon row of sleek, missile-like objects. "Check the acceleration compensators on units 41 through 60, Day instructed. They showed fluctuations during the last diagnostic. Technicians moved efficiently among the platforms, their movements practiced and precise. These weren't regular crew members but specialists, each selected for their expertise in humanity's most advanced weapons technology. Unlike the fusion engines that powered the Thunderchild's visible propulsion, these kinetic platforms utilized compact antimatter catalysts. Technology humanity had publicly claimed was beyond their capability. Captain Hannah entered the bay, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Engineer Day straightened when he saw her approach. "Status report," she asked, her eyes scanning the hundreds of platforms arranged in neat rows. "Are the kinetic platforms ready?" Captain Kim asked quietly. Day nodded. "All 300 launchers are operational, Captain." The aliens never even scanned inside our armored bays. Their arrogance worked in our favor. They believed our ship was exactly what we showed them. Hannah walked between the rows, running her hand along one of the sleek projectiles. Unlike energy weapons that could be deflected or absorbed by advanced shields, these simple kinetic weapons relied on mass and velocity. principles as old as warfare itself, but refined to devastating effect. The Concord believes speed is the answer to the Shral threat, she said softly. They don't understand that sometimes power matters more than speed. When do we deploy? Asked Da. Only if absolutely necessary, Hannah replied firmly. Earth Command is clear. This technology remains secret unless revealing it is essential to protect human interests or save Concord lives. As she left the bay, Hannah stopped at the observation port and looked out at the gathered Concord fleet. Hundreds of ships, sleek and fast, technological marvels that made the Thunderchild look primitive by comparison. Yet not one of them carried the devastating power hidden within the human vessel's armored hull. Power that could change the balance of the entire galaxy if revealed. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, she whispered to herself as the massive bay doors closed behind her. The combined Concord fleet, 37 ships strong, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the Chorus system. Intelligence had indicated a major Shral staging ground. The ships emerged in perfect formation, a testament to the coordination of the diverse alien crews. The sleek vessels arranged themselves in attack posture, weapons charging, and sensors reaching out to locate their targets. Instead, they found 80 Shral warships waiting in perfect ambush formation. The black, angular vessels of the Shral hung motionless against the starfield, their formation designed to close like a trap around any arriving force. For a moment, silence reigned across all communication channels as both sides assessed the situation. The Concord fleet had expected to surprise the Shral. Instead, they had flown directly into a carefully planned trap. Dimensional shift detected, cried the Vril flagship, breaking the momentary silence. They're appearing behind our lines. The warning came too late. Dozens of additional Shral vessels materialized from subspace directly behind the Concord formation. The dimensional shift technology the Shral had perfected allowed them to partially exist in another dimension before fully emerging into normal space. The effect made them nearly impossible to detect until they chose to appear. The Concord formation shattered as ships desperately attempted evasive maneuvers. The Vril and Pellerin vessels, for all their vaunted speed, found themselves surrounded. Their quick engines allowed them to accelerate rapidly, but the Shral had anticipated this, positioning their forces to cut off all escape vectors. A Pellerin scout vessel, attempting to outrun the encirclement, collided with a Shral destroyer that appeared directly in its path. Both ships erupted in silent explosions, adding to the chaos of the battlefield. From its position in the rear guard, the Thunderchild observed the chaos unfolding. 3 Concord vessels had already been destroyed, their faster engines useless in the tight quarters of battle. The human vessel, relegated to the back of the formation due to its supposedly inferior speed, had inadvertently been placed in the safest position. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Hannah Kim watched the tactical display with growing concern. The red dots representing Shral vessels were overwhelming the blue markers of Concord ships. They knew we were coming, said Commander Tai, his voice grim. This was a trap from the beginning. Across the communication channels, panicked reports streamed in. Shields failing on the port side. We've lost engines. Cannot maintain formation. The Vril flagship, its crystalline hull now scared by multiple impacts, tried desperately to coordinate a counterattack. But the Shral's superior numbers and positioning made any organized response impossible. All ships, emergency retreat, ordered the Concord commander, his translated voice strained even through the electronic filter. Disengage and jump to rally point Delta. Every vessel for itself. Several Concord ships managed to break free of the encirclement, their engines flaring bright as they pushed to escape velocity. Others were not so fortunate. A Razak cruiser exploded as concentrated fire from 3 Shral vessels overwhelmed its shields. A Trill science vessel, its propulsion damage, drifted helplessly as Shral boarders attached to its hull. Captain. Communications officer Jin Lee turned to Hannah, her fingers moving quickly across her console. We're receiving distress calls from the Vril medical frigate. They're surrounded and their engines are disabled. Hannah moved to Jin's station and listened to the desperate plea. The Vril medical frigate carried not just Vril personnel, but wounded from previous engagements and medical staff from multiple species. They're requesting any assistance, Jin continued. They have 300 patients aboard who cannot be evacuated in time. The bridge fell silent as all eyes turned to Captain Kim. The Thunderchild remained untouched by the battle so far, but engaging would place them directly in harm's way against an enemy that had already proven deadly to more advanced ships. Captain Kim's expression hardened. Her dark eyes swept across the bridge crew, noting their tension but also their readiness. These were not the faces of people who would abandon allies to death. "Combat stations," she ordered, her voice calm but carrying absolute authority. "All crews secure for maximum acceleration. Engineer Da, prepare kinetic platforms 1 through 60 for deployment." The response was immediate. Alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members secured equipment and took their battle positions. In the depths of the vessel, previously hidden compartments opened as Engineer Da's teams activated systems that had remained dormant since the Thunderchild joined the Concorde fleet. "Activating internal inertial dampeners," reported the operations officer. "All decks report ready for combat maneuvers." Commander Ta moved closer to the captain, speaking quietly. "The Shral will detect our approach long before we reach effective range," he warned. "At our speed, they'll have minutes to target us." Hannah's lips curved in a slight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "They won't be expecting what we can do," she replied. In the massive hidden bay, Engineer Dai personally supervised the final preparations of the first 60 kinetic platforms. Each one contained a simple but devastating weapon, a dense projectile designed to impact with massive force, driven by engines that could accelerate the projectile to a significant fraction of light speed. Platforms 1 through 60 show green across all systems. Day reported over the secured channel to the bridge. Launch tubes aligned and ready. On the main view screen, the Vril medical frigate was now clearly visible, its elegant design marred by weapon impacts. 5 Shral vessels had surrounded it, their black hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Occasionally, one would fire another shot at the disabled vessel, systematically destroying its defensive capabilities. "They're toying with them," said Jin, horror evident in her voice. "Not for long," Hannah replied. She took her seat in the captain's chair and secured the safety harness. "Tactical, plot firing solutions for all attacking Shral vessels. Navigation, bring us to bearing 340, Mark II, 1/3 thrust." The Thunderchild began to move, its engines glowing as it turned toward the embattled medical frigate. On nearby Concorde vessels that had not yet escaped, alien crews noticed the human ship's movement with confusion. "What are they doing?" asked a Pellerin commander. "They'll never reach the medical frigate in time." The Vril battle director watched the slow approach of the human vessel and shook his head. "A brave but futile gesture," he said. "Their primitive ship cannot hope to challenge the Shral." But aboard the Thunderchild, as the distance to target steadily decreased, Captain Hannah Kim gave the order that would change the course of the battle. "Engineer Da, open launch tubes 1 through 20. Deploy kinetic platforms and activate targeting systems. Let's show the Shral what a slow ship can do." They hiss. Thunderchild's conventional engines flared to life, pushing the massive vessel forward at what the aliens considered a crawl. The blue-white glow of its fusion thrusters illuminated the space behind the human warship as it moved toward the battle zone. Compared to the lightning-fast maneuvers of the alien vessels around it, the Thunderchild's approach seemed almost leisurely. The Shral BattleNet registered the human ship's movement, but classified it as a non-threat due to its velocity. Their tactical algorithms, designed to prioritize fast-moving targets that could pose immediate danger, barely acknowledged the human vessel. Their attention remained fixed on destroying the cornered Concorde vessels, particularly the crippled Vril medical frigate. Status of Shral targeting systems. Captain Hannah Kim asked, her hands gripping the arms of her command chair as the Thunderchild continued its approach. The tactical officer checked his readings. They've allocated minimal tracking resources to our position, Captain. No weapons lock detected. They're ignoring us. Jin reported from communications, a note of relief in her voice. She adjusted her headset as incoming transmissions continued to flood the channels. The Vril are asking what we think we're doing. Their commander sounds confused. A faint smile crossed Hannah's face. Sending them a demonstration, Captain Kim answered. She pressed a button on her command console, opening a direct line to engineering. Engineer De, deploy first wave. Deep within the Thunderchild, massive bay doors slid open in sections that, from the outside, had appeared to be solid hull plating. The specialized compartments had been disguised as storage areas in all official schematics shared with the Concorde. From these hidden launch bays emerged sleek projectiles, each no larger than a shuttle. The weapons were simple in design, dense metal cores surrounded by guidance systems and powerful engines. For a moment, they drifted alongside the human warship, looking almost harmless against the backdrop of the larger battle. Then their engines ignited. The silent vacuum of space hid the true violence of their acceleration. The kinetic kill vehicles accelerated at forces that would crush any living pilot. Constructed of dense alloys and guided by simple AI, they streaked toward the Shral fleet at velocities approaching 1% of light speed, far faster than any manned vessel could safely travel. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, the crew watched through camera feeds as their weapons raced ahead of their ship. The projectiles quickly became invisible to the naked eye, their speed too great to track visually. First wave has cleared minimum safe distance, reported the weapons officer. Time to impact, 7 seconds. The bridge crew held their breath. For nearly a decade, these weapons had existed only in simulations and controlled tests. Never before had they been deployed in actual combat. The first impact stunned both Concorde and Shral observers. The lead kinetic projectile struck a Shral destroyer directly amidships. There was no explosion in the traditional sense. At such velocities, the kinetic energy converted instantly to heat and light. The Shral vessel simply ceased to exist as the projectile passed through it, leaving a perfect hole before the entire ship structure collapsed inward and then erupted outward in a cloud of superheated particles. 2 more Shral vessels suffered similar fates within seconds. Their shields, designed to disperse energy weapons like lasers and plasma cannons, offered no protection against pure kinetic force. The first wave of projectiles tore through 3 capital ships, converting their mass to explosive energy upon impact. Aboard the nearby Vril medical frigate, the crew watched in stunned silence as their attackers disintegrated before their eyes. The Vril captain turned to his science officer in disbelief. What weapon could do that? He asked, his translator struggling to convey his shock. Nothing in our database, the science officer replied, quickly analyzing the readings. Simple kinetic projectiles, but at velocities we thought impossible for controlled flight. Back on the Thunderchild, Engineer De's voice came through clear and confident on the bridge speakers. First wave impact confirmed. All targets neutralized. Second wave deploying. Engineer De reported calmly. Another set of projectiles emerged from the human vessel, their engines igniting in sequence as they aligned with new targets. The Thunderchild continued its steady approach, launching wave after wave of kinetic weapons. The Shral fleet, recognizing the danger too late, attempted to reorient toward this unexpected threat. Shral communication channels showing significant activity, reported Jin. They're trying to coordinate a response. They're targeting us now. Commander Ta warned as alert indicators flashed across his console. Multiple weapon locks detected. Impact in 45 seconds. Captain Kim nodded, having expected this response. Evasion pattern Delta, she ordered without hesitation. The crew braced themselves as the ship's computer implemented the pre-programmed maneuver sequence. The massive human vessel, previously derided for its sluggishness, executed a series of precise maneuvers that, while not fast by alien standards, made targeting solutions difficult. The Thunderchild rolled and pitched in seemingly random patterns, its course changing just enough to throw off the Shral targeting systems. 5 energy beams from Shral vessels converged on the Thunderchild's previous position, missing the human ship by meters as it continued its evasive dance. The ship shuddered as a glancing blow struck its reinforced hull. "Minor damage to outer plating," reported the damage control officer. "Structural integrity at 97%. Meanwhile, the kinetic projectiles continued their devastating work. The second and third waves struck with equal effectiveness, each impact announcing itself as a brilliant flash against the darkness of space. The Shral formation dissolved into chaos as ships attempted to dodge the relativistic weapons, only to collide with each other in their panic. A Shral commander, realizing the unprecedented threat they faced, ordered his fleet to execute emergency dimensional shifts to escape the kinetic barrage. Several Shral vessels began to shimmer as they attempted to phase partially into subspace. "They're trying to shift dimensions to avoid our weapons," called out the tactical officer. Hana leaned forward. "Target their transition points with the next wave. Engineer Da, deploy waves 4 and 5.